Namaste. This is a message for Indian boys, Indian men, Indian fathers and mothers, and Indian wives. I've been living in India for over 4 years now, and there's something I can't stop thinking about, and something I feel that we need to talk about. Now listen, I know you probably don't want to hear what a Britisher has to say. I get it. But I'm not talking as an outsider judging, but as a former sex educator, and just as a man who was once a boy, and as a fellow human, as someone who's spoken with many young men and women here in India, as someone who loves living in India and only wants the best for this country and its people, and as someone who also comes from a traditionally conservative country, the same country, in fact, that forced a once sexually more open and liberal Indian society to become one that continues to suppress most aspects of sex and sexuality, often painting it all with a brush of taboo and controversy. Because when people talk about the scourge of sexual violence in India, they often jump straight to crime, punishment, morality. But almost no one asks a much more uncomfortable, awkward and difficult question. What kind of sexual environment are boys in India growing up in? I grew up in the UK. As a teenager, I had my own room, my own space, privacy. And that meant something important. It meant I had the freedom to understand my own body, to explore, to feel, to learn what pleasure is. Slowly, safely, privately. Now, I was very lucky. I know that. But unfortunately, here's the reality for millions of boys in India. Many grow up in one-room homes, often sleeping next to parents, siblings, or extended family. There's no privacy, no space, and very rarely any conversation. And many of them are watching porn from a young age. India is one of the largest consumers of porn in the world. As someone who frequently gets "Johnny Sins" shouted at him almost every time I go into Mumbai without wearing a cap, and when I didn't have such a big bushy beard, it's more than evident. They're getting this very one-sided view of sex, and yet who can they confidently go to speak about it? And yet, we expect them to grow into sexually confident, emotionally aware men? Studies also suggest that over 70% of women in India report never experiencing orgasm in their marriages. Think about that. And let's be honest, though maybe not the most crucial element of a relationship, a happy and healthy sex life is still an important part. One that can lead to frustration, arguments, and relationship breakdowns, if not properly addressed. We frequently talk about women's empowerment, but what about sexual education for men? Because if a boy's only experience of his own body is rushed, hidden, done in fear, in a toilet, in 60 seconds, before someone knocks on the door, then what does he actually learn? He learns speed, he learns secrecy, he learns shame. And then one day, he gets married. And suddenly, he's just expected to understand intimacy, connection, female pleasure, without ever being taught. Now, let me be very clear. Sexual frustration does not excuse sexual violence. Ever. But if we refuse to talk about the roots, we're not solving anything. Because unfortunately, India still largely avoids proper sex education. No real conversations, no safe spaces, no guidance. Just silence, shame, and confusion. Yet again, largely a colonial hangover. So maybe the question isn't just, why is there a problem? Maybe the question is, what are we teaching young boys about their bodies, and what are we not? If we want healthier relationships, if we want safer societies, if we want women to actually experience pleasure, then this conversation needs to happen. Not in whispers, not in shame, but openly. Because sexuality doesn't just disappear when you ignore it, when you refuse to confront it, when you refuse to talk about it. It just grows in the dark.